Are you ready to make 2023 your best year yet? In this video, I'll be sharing the top tips and strategies for setting yourself up for success in the new year, from setting clear goals, creating a new identity, and creating a plan of action to staying focused and motivated. You'll learn how to make this your best year yet.
I walk around every day with that mentality. And I loved when he brought that up yesterday. And he said, if there was a film crew following you around, what would you do? What would you want them to see? What would you not want them to see? So we have a lot of conversations like that. And then I was just like, I get in my head a lot about certain things because we see a lot of patterns and tendencies when we work with a large group of people. And who recalls the last call of the year that I did in December about the 10-year identity?
I was there.
So if you were on that call, Joe shared this document. It's something that we like to do, and we like to share it. It's almost like a way of announcing it. And it's, it has like a whole different array of things, right? There's a synopsis, what your, what a picture perfect day would look like, your identity, what it looks like in 5 years, 10 years. When we do stuff like that, one, you got to think okay, we went over these questions, and then you have planning, and you have 2023 goals, new year goals, right? The whole new year resolution, new year, new you, right? You have the identity thing that Joe talked about, and we like to do that from a business standpoint, personal standpoint. So I do it for trading and personal, right? Spiritually, health, mindset, trading, etc. And I do it for the year, and I update a 5 and 10 year, and then I do those questions that Joe talked about yesterday. But then more importantly, we put systems in place to actually make those happen, and we announce them, and we add the layer of accountability to it, right? So just think about it. And I'll go back to the thing that I was curious about that kind of had me thinking about all this. And when we talk about transformation here, and the real reason why we're not here to be good traders. We're here for a transformation to occur in our lives so that we can consistently and produce an expected result, a different result, whatever that looks like. And we're using trading as the vehicle to do that. And without systems, without accountability, and all these other things, nothing's going to change. We can spend as much time on the charts as we want. We can watch recordings in modules till we're blue in the face. But without systems, without accountability, without announcing and declaring the things that you want, it's just not going to happen. Point blank, period. It's just not going to happen for you. So that's why I was curious. I was like, who recalls what I asked that last call I did, the last call of 2022 in December, when we were talking about the identity? Does anybody remember what I asked? The request for that sheet, that worksheet. I said, you can fill it out. I asked everybody, fill it out. Then I said, declare, announce it, meaning share it with me privately or share it in the group. How many people do you think sent it to me? Filled it out and then sent it to me? Just take a guess.
Nobody.
Nobody. Not a single person. We have a group of about 500 people. Not a single person sent it to me. I was excited to read them so I can see where everybody's at, what they want, because when we know what we want, we can put systems in place to actually make it happen. It's like that New Year's resolution. I'm going to work out this year. I'm going to start hitting the gym, and that's what I want for whatever reason that I want that. Maybe I want to, make sure I add longevity to my life so that I can be here to walk my daughter down the aisle, whatever that reason is for you, right? But then if I don't plan it, if I don't schedule it in, and if I don't add accountability, do you think I'm going to actually do it? Absolutely not. How many people have fallen into that trap? I'm sure everybody's fallen into that trap. I used to fall into it all the time until I really wanted to make a change in my life. And then I guarantee it by making sure I have systems in place. And more importantly, I make sure it gets done by telling my inner circle of close friends that I trust and work with on a daily basis exactly what I want and what I'm going to do to get it. And then we see how we can all help each other and what we can do to implement to actually make it happen, and then hold each other accountable to actually do the thing. And that's how we consistently grow and consistently level up. I'm not the same guy I was this time last year having these calls with this group. As a business, we are not the same EFX that we started over 3 years ago. If you really want to make a change, don't put all the effort into the charts. Don't put all the effort into the trading. Put all the effort into yourself. Seriously, I'm being so honest. And this is what I preach in week 8, the very last module of this entire program. If you want the change, if you want your bank account, if you want to pull up that bank account app and make it look different, you got to level up first. You got to put systems in play first. If you want that external, you need the internal level up first. Then everything else will be a reflection of that. And that's going to happen for every different category. And that's what I talk about in detail. You know, I try to pound it in to everybody that's watching that last module of week 8. So I would love if anybody wanted to do that and you want to share it, great. But whether you share it with me or the group, share it with somebody in your accountability group, somebody that you know that is going to hold you to it, right? Because when you announce something, like think about this, right? If I announce something to this group, right? Let's say I say something along the lines of, hey, I'm making this new trade journal. We're spending all this time. It's going to be a game changer and it's going to do X, Y, and Z. And we're going to have it ready for you to start trading for January 2023. And I don't follow through with that. It's not a good look. I'm not going to look like I'm a reliable person, maybe untrustworthy if I say something and don't do it, right? So it's almost like another form of accountability when I declare it to all of you, say, hey, I'm going to have this thing for you. It's going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to have it done and there for you by this day. And I give you updates on it. And we test it, and we make sure it's good, and then it's there, and we deliver. Because you are all holding me accountable because I announced it. That's how powerful just announcing what you want can be to a group of people. Does that make sense? Everybody following along? So what I would recommend that you do, take those questions that Joe talked about yesterday. If you really want to change in 2023, like if you're tired of doing the same old shit over and over, whether it's health, whether it's trading or just organization, whatever, doesn't matter. Go through those questions and really spend some time. Spend 10, 15, 20 minutes answering those questions thoughtfully. And then share them with your accountability group. So what I would do is tell everybody in your accountability group, answer these questions. Okay? Spend some time answering those questions, and then everybody get on a call. Like whenever one of your weekly meetups or whatever it is. And go through those questions with everybody. Okay. So for example, I want to spend more time focusing on X, Y, and Z. Okay. So whatever that is, let's say health, family, and it doesn't matter, right? Then the next one is I want to spend less time X, Y, and Z. So when you have those things and you're like, okay, I want to spend more time focusing on X, Y, and Z, like what can you actually do to spend more time on those things? Because just answering those questions, that's as good as taking a piece of paper and I say, make a list of your 2023 goals. And then just that's it. Like you're thinking about it. It's just becomes something that you think about, and then it gets lost in the shuffle because we're all here. We're all busy. We all have lives, families, jobs, X, Y, and Z. So the moment you put something on paper and it doesn't get planned and you don't get organized with it and it doesn't get scheduled into your calendar, it's as good as not writing anything down. So I would take time in your accountability group to everybody answer those questions and then go through it and start making out systems. And then you have a clear idea of what everyone wants and what they're going to do to get it. And then the format that we use is level 10 meetings every single Monday. And this is what we do every single week without fail. All of us get on this call at 10 a.m. every single Monday, and we go through what's called the EOS meetings, the level 10 meetings. It's talked about in the accountability. You can just Google it. It's a framework for meetings and prioritizing issues, and tasks and accountability. So what we do is we do things like this for personal and business, and we write down all the different things that we want, why we want it, how we're actually going to make those happen, et cetera, right? Putting systems in place, having the accountability. And then what do you think that we do on that level 10 meeting every single Monday? Did this get done? We go through, yesterday we went through all the objectives that we discussed. Joe had a list, Bogdan had a list, I had a list. Did we do this? Yes, great. What's the next step? What can we do to help? Is everybody who needs to be aware of all the different variables? If this didn't get done, okay, why didn't it get done? What can we do to help? Did you have systems in play? What can we change? What can we do? Whatever. And we go through every single thing. And if there was problems going through one of the issues, we transfer it to the next section of the meeting, which is IDS, where we go through and we problem solve different issues. It's the most powerful way to run meetings. So like we do this. So think of like the results, right? If you just have these questions and you just answer them versus a second set of people that answer them and then meet on them, announce them to the group, and have a structure in place to actually like, how I want this, how are you actually going to do it, and put a plan to it, putting it into the calendar, and then having accountability and follow-ups on those things every single week, once a week, until it's done, and then you update. What do you think the difference between those two sets of variables are for those two different groups of people? Night and day. That's why some people accomplish shit and some people don't. It's easy as that. Like if you really want a result, if you're really here to change something, if you really want to be a consistently profitable trader, if you really want to do whatever it is that you want to do, that's what you have to do. That's the framework. And I know a lot of you are doing it, but like it is so important now more than ever, because this is the start of 2023. Don't let this just be another year that rolls around that nothing gets done. Nothing changes. And the thing that kind of got me curious today and why I kind of was like, I really want to talk about this is because of like that level 10 thing. That's what got me kind of curious. I was like, I'm curious why nobody sent it to me or nobody shared it. And then I was with Luke and Mirko, and we were having a conversation when we were doing our client success meeting. And somebody brought up, well, if you told them, he was like, when you do the growth challenge and you have something that you request and you add a reward to it. So for the growth challenge, the last growth challenge, we said, if you complete this, you can, we'll personally backtest your journals. You can trade live with us multiple times. And we had a number of things, right? And a ton of people completed, way more than we expected. I thought a handful of people would go through and actually complete every single thing. We had like 30, 40 people complete it. And we were like, holy shit, we kind of bit off more than we could chew. But whatever, that's besides the point. And what do you think the difference would be? And this is what I was curious about. If I asked the same thing, what do you think would be the difference if I said, hey, I just would love for you guys to fill out this identity worksheet, or Joe saying, hey, I would love for you guys to answer these questions. And then the other version of it is like, hey, I would love for you to do this identity worksheet. I would love for you to do these questions. And if you do, I'll personally trade with you for the next month. How many people do you think would have sent me their identity worksheet? It's a skewed misconception of value. That's what I came to. And I think people are not seeing the value for themselves or the reward for doing the thing. Like when I present a reward, they're seeing it, but if there's not something there offered, like some type of reward, like we talk about these consequences and rewards and accountability, right? You're rewarded for good, your consequences for not doing things that you're supposed to be doing, right? And I was like, maybe it's just because people aren't seeing the value or the reward just from doing the thing themselves, the thing that they want. And it got me very curious. And that's why I just wanted to bring that up. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that, because when we usually say something along the lines of like, hey, can you do this and we'll give you that. If you complete the growth challenge, we'll give you this. And then it got me thinking, okay, if we did the growth challenge and we didn't offer anything, will we have the same amount of people that completed it? And are they focused on the wrong reward? Or are they not seeing their own potential reward? So that's like why I think it's so important to get crystal clear with what you want, to like, it gives you chills. And then the things that we talk about, like, okay, if I'm doing these questions and I set up and I do all this stuff that Dan just said, and if I do this identity worksheet, like, this is the reward is the thing that I want. That's what it's going to get me closer to that versus just some sessions or whatever that they're going to offer me. I think it would really start, and I think it would be a really good framework for everybody's accountability group to start with those questions that Joe talked about yesterday, and give them some thought and answer them, because answering those questions truthfully will really identify like what you need to do to get a change this year, to level up this year, to see true growth this year in multiple different areas. And then with your accountability groups, put that framework in place using that level 10. I mean, just Google EOS meetings, EOS level 10 meetings. And you don't have to, it's a platform, you don't have to buy it, but there's so many articles about it that it'll give you the framework on how to run these meetings. And then base those meetings off of all of the responses to the questions that Joe asked yesterday. And every single week is a follow-up discussing all the things that I talked about, sharing it with everybody, getting clear on what everybody's doing. Like, we write it down. And that's the good thing about using the EOS platform. It's all there. We just also implemented, this is another awesome thing that you should all add to your accountability groups. We're adding it to every single call that we do for like the live trainings, in our personal calls. It's called Firefly AI. And what it does is it joins your meetings and it records everything. We have a Slack channel, and every time we end a meeting, in that Slack channel, it will just drop all the summary points of that meeting. So it automatically records because like how many times like you get on calls and you discuss a lot of things like this one, for example, and then it's like, okay, what did he want? Or what did he talk about? And this will just record it all and just make summary, like bullet points, all the main things. I would add that to your meetings too, to have some type of documentation about what you're discussing and what you say you're all going to be doing, and then have the follow-ups every single meeting. That's what I would do if I was you. Honestly, I think it'll be one of the biggest game changers for you. In your accountability groups, there should probably be 10% trading chart related conversations, truly. And you will see the biggest impact in your trading if you do that. Honestly, I promise you. So that's just my 2 cents there. And I'm sorry for the rant. If this came off like a rant, we just really are so focused on client success this year. And that's why we're just doing so many different things. We're working on a lot of things. That's the reason for the journal, and a lot of other things coming in the pipeline as well. I'm telling you, you're going to see a huge night and day difference if you do this. I promise you. And it's going to be uncomfortable. And that means it's exactly what you should be doing.